Hello and welcome to this third video in the series about Kundalini awakenings. Firstly, I'd just like to say that my name is NIgel Springett. I'm a counselling psychologist specialising in Kundalini issues, working alongside Tara Springett, who, as you probably know, is a leading expert in the whole topic of Kundalini and Kundalini awakening. In the first two videos of this series, then I spoke about the opening up of the unconscious mind, your own unconscious mind, and the opening up of the unconscious mind of others, so that you can start seeing other people behind their masks, as it were. Now, in this third one is about the opening up of the paranormal world. And that is the world beyond our ordinary, everyday sense of there being a kind of definite, measurable world in which you can see separate objects. You know, you are separate to the things around you, your room, etc. And what's going to happen slowly is that your access to this paranormal world will gradually increase, and to reveal things like telepathy, spiritual healing, maybe visions of ghosts and demons and divine beings, could be contact with the dead, clairvoyance. A common one is extremely unlikely coincidences. But sometimes also things like seeing orbs of light, hearing strange sounds or voices, perhaps out-of-body experiences, all things that in a way defy our rules of physics. You know, the rules that or laws that scientists have used to describe our natural world. And this can be very troubling for people, this exposure to a new way of how reality works. And it is quite normal for people in the Kundalini awakening process to experience a lot of fear and a lot of doubt about their sanity, about you know, what is really happening to me. And sometimes people will go to psychiatrists and doctors who then will label their experiences as psychotic. And because quite often those doctors and psychiatrists don't understand the difference between a true spiritual experience or paranormal experience and mental illness. Two of the most important differentials to distinguish between the two states are the degree to which you understand that what you're experiencing does not fit with the ordinary perceptions of in our natural world. The more you realize that and fully aware of that, the less you would think this is psychosis. And similarly, the more you're willing and desiring to talk about your experiences and able to describe them in detail, then again that indicates that this is a proper spiritual experience and not psychosis. But I would say, you know, you need to be careful about who you talk to about your experiences, because it's quite common for people in your own family and amongst your own friends to be very disturbed by your disturbing experiences. And so you have to use your own judgment, your best judgment about who do you discuss these things with. And generally, our message is, you know, generally caution. it's like you're entering into a new world. It's like going to a strange city. Maybe you've never been to New York. Well, now you're going there. And if you do go to New York, you have to be careful. Which parts of that city do you go into? Is it okay just to approach strangers in a dark alley somewhere? Obviously not. Well, the same applies to the spiritual world, the paranormal world, where it's inhabited by all sorts of beings. You can think of it like a kind of big triangle with your higher power way at the top, and then there's angels and spirit guides and spirits and demons and so on, and you're in the middle somewhere, and you have to be careful about who do you connect with. And just because a voice appears in your mind saying, perhaps I'm your spirit guide, that doesn't mean that this is a being that it's wise for you to connect with. And our rule of thumb is that you should connect very consciously, very deliberately to your higher power. And this is the being or the source of love and wisdom in the universe. And that can be very different for different people. For some people, or for many people, that's God, that's Muhammad, that's Kuan Yin, that's Jesus Christ, Mother Mary, the Buddha. But it's the highest source of love and wisdom in the universe, of which you know and of which you believe. And this is so important because say you are connecting to a so-called spirit guide. How do you know that spirit is really loving and on your side? Can you connect? Can you go and investigate their credentials? Do you know where they've been educated? Do you really know on which side they are? Because characteristically, the devil in Christianity can appear in many forms and appear to be, a good person and so on. And it's only much later you discover actually they're undermining your ability to stay well and stay on the positive side of life. So there is that advice that we give, keep to your higher power. And in fact, this was, you could say, echoed by a very famous Indian avatar called Anandamayi Ma, who was hugely gifted with her spiritual powers and so on. And she didn't teach that much, but one thing she did teach over and over again was her dictum, which is remember God, remember God. And we believe very similarly that it's, if you like, remember your higher power. Remember your higher power. And that helps to keep you safe. And we have, by the way, a kind of particular way of remembering the higher power, which we call higher consciousness healing. And you can read about that in Tara's books. And that's something that we teach via Skype to our clients. Now, remembering your higher power is one aspect of what we call control. So it's like when you go into the spirit world, then one thing that's very different is that in our normal world, we have separate objects. We have me over here, the camera over there, my laptop over here, a desk, etc., etc., that I think are separate from me, or that's my experience. Now, in the paranormal world, things are much more fused. So whatever we experience as being outside of us is actually occurring also inside of us. There's a kind of mixing up of location. And now, one thing that this means is that you have a lot more control, potentially, over your experiences in the paranormal world than you do in our so-called everyday world. And the key factor around this control is where you place your attention. So you decide what you attend to, and it's that gives you control. So in a way, whatever you attend to, you're giving permission to exist. And if you are attending to a demonic voice in your head, you're giving that demonic voice permission to exist. Now, you need to decide what is it that I want with this paranormal world. You know, if you are plagued by strange visions and voices and so on, then you need to raise the level of attention that you give to other positive things, such as your higher power. But there's also a lot of gifts that come with the paranormal world around foretelling the future, for being able to heal people and so on. And it's those things where you might want to develop and become if you like, a more positively orientated, in some ways more capable, more powerful being. But I just want to go back to the kind of dictum of remembering God, or remembering your higher power, because it's important that whatever gifts you develop, they are in the service of your evolution towards your higher power. It can be very tempting to start, in a sense, owning one's gifts, psychic gifts and so on, and start using them for egotistical ends. And that's also enhanced by the fact that once you have a Kundalini awakening, your charisma is likely to rise. That, with psychic gifts, gives the potential for you to develop as a charlatan. And that is dangerous. Dangerous for you, dangerous for the people around you. And so the dictum around remembering your higher power and evolving positively towards that higher power is one of the most important aspects of a positive Kundalini awakening. So I hope that hasn't troubled you too much or worried you too much, and I hope it's given you some reassurance that you can guide yourself safely through this strange world of the paranormal. And I would also just want to add that the things I've been talking about typically happen later rather than sooner in your Kundalini journey. So don't think this is all going to happen all at once and you're going to have this kind of onslaught. But there are risks involved, and those are mitigated by basically strengthening your connection to your higher power. Okay, well, if that's been of use to you, please do give me a thumbs up. I'm very grateful to see those. And if there's any other things that you'd like me to talk about in future videos, do mention them in your comments. And thanks for watching. Bye for now.